Why don't we? I don't have any stinger videos this week because, dang it, I wanted to come up with an outline. So I can't put up a quick little video between. So, transition. doing my best Wayne's World impression. I don't know if you see that where they do that.
Yes.
But I'm in that goofy 80s mood. Spring game. So let's take a look back at the spring game. I just a thought that I had overall on the game as a whole. I know I made a comment on the Redcast when they did their rapid reaction show. I did make a comment that our kind of overall reaction at the time was meh. Yeah. You know, it was kind of rough watching an offense be hamstrung by the fact that there wasn't tackling because there was an advantage to the defense. It was 29-10 at halftime because the defense, all they had to do was touch off.
Yeah,
and they were able to earn pretty easy points. But in spite of that, Anthony Grant had that spectacular run there in the first quarter, which for me made him the standout player on offense because he did that when it was touch football and nobody put a hand on him. I mean, he ran right into the middle of the line and nobody put a hand on him. So that was pretty impressive. You guys have any overall thoughts on the game as you watched it?
The Anthony Grant run, I watched it multiple times in like a highlight reel, and I've watched it like frame by frame to see was there a guy who was going to actually tackle him, and no, there wasn't. He was very elusive. He had the angle on each little cutback that he made, and he might have not had the most impressive top speed, but he definitely has a really good acceleration behind his legs. And I was impressed by that. I guess the other overall impression that I had was that I really couldn't take much away from either side of the line inside of our interior line. I could not figure out a way to interpret anything that was happening there. It just seemed like if the offensive line was getting a push, the next play, the defensive line would get a good push, and it would just go back and forth between the two of them. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. And I suspect that it's probably going to mean that we will have a less than desirable interior line for both sides of the ball this year, which is worrisome. That's probably the most worrisome takeaway that I took from the spring game overall. But those were kind of the two main takeaways. Was Anthony Grant looked stellar off offense and defensive line did not look particularly impressive. And then I suppose our quarterback room just looks deep. That's the last point. My overall take is that for the first time in the Frost era, I feel like we have a lot of depth in our quarterback room with talent. I'd say that those are my three main takeaways.
Okay. How about you, Luke?
Well, I'm just kind of happy to see an offense without Martinez for a minute, just to see where we'd have something to do that's not all around what this one guy may or may not decide to do on his terms. So, I mean, it's kind of nice seeing that. I'm liking how our run game actually wants to go through people and continue that, even though when we had a touch for a while, even yet, just like still during the second when they tried tackling for a minute, they wanted to see what he was going to do. And I feel like he just didn't really look away from it and went into it. I'm glad to see that's back in Husker running. And I'm just kind of really like during the quarterback debate, I feel a little bad for Smothers just because I feel like he's been waiting for Martinez to get out the door. And now that he's gone, it almost seems like he felt the pressure of, I really need to perform over this guy from Texas that we just got in. And this other guy that just came in, and Purdy looked comfortable. He didn't have that many great throws or anything, but he just looked like he was ready to just enjoy that space. What he had
that dime he dropped into AJ Rollins, though, was a thing of beauty.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
And that's another thing. Our receivers are really glad to I'm happy that the receivers want to get out and make those jumps and make those wants to get the ball instead of being like, oh, I might not go for that. And even during a spring game, I understand you have more confidence at the beginning to kind of go out because you're not going to get hit. But I mean, you're in double coverage and even jumping over these guys, like, good on you. Keep doing that. I want to see that.
Yeah, dude.
He put that ball in the perfect place too. So I think we're going to see a quarterback competition in the fall. I really do. Go ahead.
I wanted to expand a little bit on Yant. What you had said. Yes, I think Yant looked good, especially considering the fact that we mostly saw him in the first half when it was no touch. And one of the notable things that I saw was near the end of the second quarter, and the red squad was right around the 32-yard line inside of the white territory, and Yant ran it up the gut for maybe 4 or 5 yards, but then he took it all the way to the end zone anyway. And I think he might have earned, happy points from Applewhite for that kind of effort, because I know that Applewhite had talked about that one of the things that they're doing in their practice is that you go to the end zone. It doesn't matter if you get touched or tackled or whatever. I guess if you're tackled, you don't want to just get up and just go run to the end zone for no reason. But he wants them to take it. Get used to scoring. Get used to running to that goal line. And the fact that Yant did that right there, I think he definitely earned some brownie points for that.
Instead of looking at that stop that's going to get you and just giving up on the play like we've done in the past, I was really good to see that he's just like, I'm not going to stop.
Nope. He's like, I'm gonna act like I would in a game, and I'm going to that end zone. So that was something that I thought of when you said that. That was notable.
One of my definite takeaways is kind of what you'd said earlier, Luke, and I think you might have mentioned it too, Scott. That Smothers definitely still needs a lot of work on his passing skills. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about the fact that dude's an athlete, and there's got to be a place on the field to put him if he can't line up as QB1 or QB2. Because my goodness, he was elusive. He was able to buy himself a little bit of time when things started collapsing around him. But I also did notice that the guys were not afraid to stay in the pocket, even when guys like Garrett Nelson were running in there and touching off on him all the time. Because that's what I took away from the line too, Scott, when you were talking about that a minute ago. I took away the fact that Garrett Nelson's going to be that guy. Unquestionably going to be that guy that's going to be out there most of the time at that one outside linebacker spot. And I don't think he loses his spot if somebody like an O'Shawn Mathis decides to come here. I don't think he gives up his spot. I think somebody like Tanner or, I thought Butler looked good too. I kind of
Butler
wrote him down
look good.
too.
Jamari looked good.
I thought he was a standout player on defense with the 6 tackles, 3 of them solo, 1 sack, a tackle for loss, and a quarterback hurry. Woo! So I thought he did quite a bit for a guy that's really not done much since he's been here.
Yeah,
just a couple of any other comments at all, guys, that you have?
I want to say the big one that I don't think we've talked about yet. We can kick. We can kick the ball. The first punt that we had going off landed on the 3. I don't want to blame the receiving team that might have lost it in the wind or the sun, but I mean, it landed dime perfect on the 3. We're getting comfortable with kicking the ball. I'll take maybe missing one of those field goals, maybe 2. I didn't really catch the end of the game.
I think we only missed 1, didn't we, Scott?
Yeah, we missed 1. It was from 42 yards, and that is not going to be our starter. It was Chase Contreras.
What was it, Bushini? Bushini, I think, is our starter right now, or is he just punter?
He's our punter. He's just our
punter. We've got Timmy Bleakroad coming in from Furman. Yeah. He's got a leg. He's got a really accurate place kicking leg to get those field goals and those extra points. And he is the guy that we are going to be leaning on here in the fall to actually be our starter. So we didn't actually get to see our standout place kicker. But yeah, Bushimi, it was like one or the other. I mean, he bombed it a few times, and then there were a few times where he just shanked it way out left or right. But his actual ceiling for his leg strength is definitely notable, 100%.
No doubt about it.
That was a positive thing. I mean, we were bummed out to see it get shanked, but I mean, it's still the spring. He just got on campus this last winter,
and you're dealing with the wind that we had, and that's
yeah. He had the most trouble punting into the wind, which I think he was trying to directionally punt or something, or working on something, and it just didn't work out well. But he did have 2 punts that were over 50 yards. 163, the other one was just under 60, if I remember right. And for the entire game, he averaged 40.3, which we kind of want to get up into that 45 per punt range, which I think he's obviously got the leg to do it.